was hiring you?
So Fringe played a big role in this and in my ability to go full time. So like I said, I was getting a lot of work from friends of friends, contacts that I'd had like through band stuff previously. Fringe, a little backstory, is a co-working space. It's a bit closer to Union Square from where we are now, but if you could walk right down the tracks from here and get there. Came about in 2009. At that point, I think we had 10 or 12 folks that all kind of came together. I did not found, it was not my idea to start it, but there were folks around the neighborhood that I knew, the goal was to make this creative space, to have a variety of services offered, and to not have a lot of overlap in what was offered in terms of services. So there was some people that were using it for like fine art studios, but I guess when we started up, it was maybe 2/3 that it was folks that were trying to start businesses that were like a type of creative service. And so we didn't want to have 20 photographers, we didn't want to have 20 web developers, and so we kind of brought this group together of people that were early on in getting their thing off the ground. And once we got in there, stuff just went crazy because you had 15 people, all of their, circles of friends and networks coming together. Everybody that I was working with would come to see the shop, and they'd be like, oh, what else is going on in here? You get a tour around the space. Oh, I need to talk to that guy, I need to talk to her, I need to talk to him. And it's the same thing coming at me. So we had this internal foot traffic. So we moved in there July of 2009, and then within 3 or 4 months, I had to quit my job because it was so much business was coming in, and I was in a really fortunate spot personally as well, just like being able to make the jump of not having a lot of debt and not being married or having kids or anything like that, and just my personal responsibilities at that point were pretty low. So it was kind of like, okay, if I need to rough it for a month if work isn't coming in like that, that was kind of a possibility.
So, are the people who were in Fringe at the beginning, have they generally stuck around? Tell us a little bit about I know that there's, I'm constantly hearing about new collectives or co-working spaces that are trying to get off the ground. Some succeed, some don't. Tell us a little bit about how those conversations happened, how they've evolved, and why you think you guys are still here.
Okay, so your first question was how many
people
are still around?
How many are still around?
The answer is at the end of the month, it will be just me from the original crew, which is sad and good. Nobody has ever moved out of Fringe because they went broke or their business totally tanked or anything like that. So over the period of 6 years, everybody that's come in there has either stuck around, gone on to bigger and better things, or had planned life decisions that have led them to go on to something else. So it's been really interesting, like having new folks come in. I was saying at the, when Fringe started, we had a mix of fine artists and of people that had small businesses. What we found pretty early on was that the folks that were doing like the kind of service-based businesses were really both bringing and getting the most out of the space in that kind of internal foot traffic thing that I mentioned. And so as people did leave, when space would open up, we would try to make a conscious effort to bring in somebody that was going to be there full time and that was doing usually some type of service, creative service based work. I don't remember the rest of your.
What do you think? What do you think you guys have worked?
So I think a big thing that sets Fringe apart from a lot of other co-working spaces is that it was founded because people needed space to work. And it was not founded because I had the idea that I could rent out 7,000 square feet at X and then rent it out at 4X to subtenants. And so the rents there have always been very low for the tenants because just the financial structure of it has never been about making money, which is not a good way to run a business, but it's a good way to have space for a bunch of other people to run their businesses. I think it's resulted in people having more ownership over the space and the community being a bit stronger than if you were just coming to a place where you knew that there was going to be coffee brewing in the morning and there was going to be bananas on the table and you just pay your check, you come in, you do your stuff, and you go home. Like people have to take out their own trash. We used to have to clean the bathrooms ourselves. We have now we have a cleaning crew. That was a big advancement at Fringe. But yeah, the community aspect I think is something that's a lot different from some of the other spaces around town.
So does a particular moment come to mind that, when you talk about that inner foot traffic or, we had Foray here a couple of months ago, who are a event and floral styling company. So is there tell us, does a moment come to mind where that foot traffic click happened and, you thought, yes, this is why the 15 of us need to be in the same place and this is why, we're creating these inner synergies?
I don't know if there was a specific moment that clicked, but Kapow is a great kind of case study of what can come out of a space like Fringe. So Kapow is a business here in Somerville, still located in Fringe. They make reusable drink lids for mason jars. And the company came about because a friend of ours, when I say ours, I mean several folks in Fringe, had some friends who had a kimchi business, and they sold the kimchi in mason jars. They had a lot of mason jars around. One day, Josh spills some coffee on himself or something because he was drinking out of it. And it's like, oh, somebody should make a lid for this. And at this point, probably a lot of you have seen it. They sell it at Block 11. They sell it at Whole Foods. It's around now. The company's gone on to make a lot of other things. So Josh came to Aaron Pannoni, who was a mechanical engineer working out of Fringe. He's like, can you make me this? You know how to turn ideas into physical products. Like, could you make this? And he's like, yeah, of course, but it's a worthless idea. And then they kept bugging me. He's like, fine, we'll do this. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. And so, using everybody in Fringe, or maybe not, but using the resources within Fringe, was like, okay, can we design some, we're gonna make 500 of these and try and sell them. Can we at least make some packaging that looks good? Can we get a website that looks good? Can we get a video that looks good? And people in Fringe were like, yeah, that would be cool. Like, we can, like, let's do this right. If we're gonna do it, let's do this right. And if we can sell 500 of these things, then everybody gets paid, and that would be funny, and whatever. So we did it, and put together a killer website. Got some awesome branding. We were able to print the packaging at Repeat Press. Video was put together. Everything was kind of like dialed in for the launch, and they sold the 500 units in the first like few days. And it was like, oh, okay. We need to make more of these. And so they made more of them. We printed more packaging. More designs were made. The website was more filled out. At this point, people are actually getting paid like what they should for the work that they're doing. And so that was kind of a cool thing because people would kind of put in a little sweat equity at first just to do something cool for their friends, and ended up paying off. In the long run, Repeat, we still print all the packaging for the stuff that Kapow makes. They're now up to 4 full-time employees, and still pretty much everything that they do outside of the injection molding of the plastic comes out of Fringe. So it's yeah, that's a neat little internal traffic story, I guess.
Very cool.